Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Hey, Coach, great to see you.
It's my pleasure right now to be joined by one of the best baseball players in LSU history. Blake Dean went to 2 College World Series, of course, a big part of the 2009 National Championship team. This is when I do the cheesy handshake. Good to see you, Blake.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and obviously a coach as well. You were part of Paul Maneri's staff for a while, and then you were the head coach at UNO for, was it 9 years?
Yeah, 9 years, yeah.
Goes by like that, huh?
It does. Yeah, it felt like it was yesterday.
And you made a decision, I think it was in January, right, that, hey, I'm not going to coach this season.
Yeah, so unique situation, right? I mean, I tell people I've been there for a long time, and I don't want to say I felt like I was at a roadblock or kind of stuck, but when you're somewhere for too long, especially early in your career, you kind of, you get kind of forgotten about a little bit, quite frankly, and become a little bit stagnant. And I just needed something new. This opportunity came along, something I couldn't pass up, and I'm a 2-year-old little boy that I see about an hour a day. So that played into it.
Well, yeah, so you got married, you have a kid, and when you're a college baseball coach, your weekends, obviously, those are wiped out.
Sure.
In the Southland Conference, whoever you're playing, and then obviously your series to begin the year, and then you're playing on Tuesday, Wednesday night, and then you're practicing, and you're not 9 to 5ing it.
Sure.
So this new you're in a private sector.
Yeah, basically I work for a company, Johns Manville. It's a commercial roofing company Berkshire Hathaway owns out of Denver, Colorado. So I oversee the state of Louisiana and most of Mississippi.
Are you going to hire Sharif Ishak to work on some roofs?
I don't think Sharif's cut out for that. I think he's right where he belongs.
Sharif interned here, he worked here, and now he's done very well in New Orleans, working with Fletcher Mackel over at WDSU. Those two guys have been teaming up for a while, and you guys were roommates at one point, right?
Oh yeah. Many moons ago now. Right when I first started at UNO, we me and Sharif and then Chris Hagan as well. We all lived together, so it was a nice little setup.
That sounds like a television show. 2 sportscasters and a jock, right? A baseball stud, all living in the same place. Yeah, I think Sharif broke the story on you getting out of coaching. And it said source says, and everyone said, well, I wonder who the source is on that.
Yeah, I can't confirm nor deny where that came from. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you miss it this year?
So I tell people, I miss the competition and I miss the relationships. That's what I miss about it the most. The everyday stuff of, UNO has had its struggles financially, and I think people read about that everywhere. It's after a while, you start weighing options, and I had to make a family decision, quite frankly. But I was forever grateful for the people there, the opportunity, the university itself. But I needed something new. I needed a new jolt of energy and some more time with the family.
Well, I don't think it's any secret the school has struggled to identify who they are exactly, right? They talked about dropping to Division III years back. There's no football program there to provide any kind of revenue stream in that capacity. Master P is now taking over the basketball operations over there. I've heard tales of having a hard time getting regular students to collect on their tuition and these kind of things. So, I mean, there were some challenges, I guess, that hopefully they can overcome, but maybe they didn't overcome them in time.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, I'm forever grateful. They gave me a chance at 26 years old, but there's no secret. I think it's out pretty publicly now, the struggles that they've gone through. I think New Orleans in itself is very resilient, so I think the university will come out on top. I just think they're going to have to work through a few hiccups to get there, but that didn't weigh too much in my decision. It was more just, again, the family situation and trying to get that stuff dialed in. Yeah,
the hours and
people don't understand. It's not just show up for the 6:30 game, right? I mean, there's so much more to it. The travel, the recruiting, there's a lot of things. And at a mid-major, it requires more of your time because you have less help. So there's less hands to do things, which then falls upon you to make sure they get done.
Well, you were an amazing baseball player. You earned your spot at LSU. But when you walk away from LSU and you go other places, it kind of strikes you like, oh, goodness, we don't have 10 guys cutting the grass. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but, the food you get to eat, the batting cages, everything is, it's way up here.
Yeah, a little different than a charter flight. Hop on a plane with your food on the dinner tray already. Yeah, I think 9 years, I took one flight, and we flew commercially. But wherever we went, the wheels were on the ground. And again, you learn to enjoy it and you appreciate that part of it. But you miss those direct commercial or flights that are already set up for you.
Michael Hollander, one of your former teammates, I think he tried the minor league thing for a little while. I don't want to misspeak, but I think it was something like, I'm getting $600 a week. I'm living in a rat-infested, roach-infested motel in nowhere, USA. I want to go watch LSU in 2009. I don't have enough money to get there or something like that. And then he became a lawyer and, took care of that pretty quickly.
Yeah, you realize, and just stepping in this sector that I'm in now, you realize how much more money is out there and different things. You kind of see, and you're like, wow, the world does have some other avenues.
Well, and I think that's a misconception, right? I mean, people look at college coaches and think they're all rich and making money, but I think we even talked about this when you had first gotten the job, to get from point A, the entry-level stuff, to a Jay Johnson who's making 1.6, $2 million, whatever he's making. I mean, that's a long path to make it. And a lot of times people are like, two professions they don't want to get in: umpire, official, and coaching.
Sure, yeah. It's not what people always, I think, have it scripted out to be. You got to work hard to get where you are, and I tell people sometimes you got to get lucky too, right? Luck plays a lot into it. I tell guys I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes because it requires a little bit of that. Even making it to the major leagues, some guys have more talent than people that make it. They just never got the break to do it. So.
In the new NIL era, does a school like UNO or some of these, do they even have a chance anymore?
Not with the big schools. It's so far separated now. I had the hitter of the year 3 years in a row and lost all of them. Mississippi State, Houston, and then Mitchell Sanford, who played at LSU, is now one of the leading hitters hitting leadoff for Ole Miss. So we had him last year. He was hitter of the year and just couldn't afford him. And I understand. I would do the same thing. I played a few years too early to get NIL money, but
yeah. Well, I mean, and then I'm just off the top of my head, like football, for example, like Southern Miss got Brett Favre back in the day, and he made them, about as good as they could be. I mean, these days, if you find a diamond in the rough and they become a star, like you said, they're going somewhere else. They're not going to stay at a school like that for 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah, it's done. I mean, I think those days are done. But at the same time, you are seeing some mid-majors have a little bit better talent of guys that are coming out from Power 5 or Power 4s that are coming back to mid-majors because they aren't playing. So it's a trade-off. You're trading basically back and forth. You're playing a Texas Hold'em and you're sharing cards and going back and forth is what you're doing.
Well, I think LSU's case in the beginning of NIL, there wasn't a ton of complaining because women's basketball, I think there were 7 transfers on the team that won the national championship, starting with Angel Reese. Jasmine Carson shot the 7 3-pointers in the national championship game. LaDasia Williams on down the line, Alexis Morris. Baseball gets Paul Skeens and Tommy White to supplement all the guys that Maneri left behind, and they win a national title. So there wasn't a whole lot of complaining in the early going. Football, I guess, has been kind of hit and miss. They haven't won a national title or made a playoff yet with Coach Kelly. But what do you make of the whole landscape now?
Again, it's who's got the money, right? It's pay me the money. That's kind of where it's at now. And these guys, you're seeing it even with high schoolers. I mean, it's it's starting to occur everywhere. These guys can do it in high school as well.
Well, okay. So Yvette Girard was sitting there a few weeks ago. She said that loyalty is a thing of the past.
Sure. It's tied to the Benjamins. I mean, loyalty might get you there, but again, is a 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid in college baseball turning down $150,000 or this or that? Probably not.
Well, and now I'm hearing, this player, he or she, the last month of the season, seemed like they were checked out. I think someone's already made a backdoor deal with this person, and as soon as the season ends, he or she's out of here. I mean, you've got to worry about people poaching your roster during the year.
Yeah, well, we take it to this depth of who we schedule, right? So we were kind of careful about who we schedule because we didn't want those guys recruiting our players and watching us play them and say, that Mitchell Sanford guy, we're going to go get him in a matter of 2 months. So it's full recruiting no matter where you're at nowadays.
Blake, it brings a new perspective to the handshake line at the end of the game when they're shaking hands.
Oh, yeah.
hey, why don't you come over and see us in a week or two, and we can maybe line something up for you, or when the season ends, come see us,
Yeah, no, seriously, there is no loyalty. I mean, you're having to check both shoulders nowadays, and that's just the way it is. There's still a few select kids that are, loyal to where they're at, but not much.
Well, let's go back in time. So, were you recruited by Smoke Lavelle to LSU?
Yeah, Smoke and Turtle, yeah.
Okay, so you committed to those guys. Smoke is let go at the end of 06. So Paul Maneri comes in, and I remember you tell me that the stories of Paul Maneri in the early days are pretty legendary. It was a boot camp.
Sure.
Trying to change the culture and trying to weed out the bad apples, and within 3 years, wow, right? The first year you don't make the NCAA tournament. The second year you go on a 23-game winning streak, go to Omaha, win a game, and then by the third year you're national champions.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first year was tough. Stuff you probably wouldn't keep a job for nowadays, But again, it changed the whole culture. He had to come in, implement, and I always remember he had Cliff Godwin and Terry Rooney with him, who were just as probably more gung-ho than Coach Maneri was. I mean, I think Godwin still to this day is one of the toughest human beings out there coaching college baseball. I mean, he's no bull crap. I mean, he's serious about it. Even when you watch his interviews at East Carolina and what he's done there. But it was a very difficult transition that turned into obviously a national championship, so it was worth it in the end.
Well, it was great to see Terry Rooney back at LSU last year, and then he left. He went to Georgia, right, to join Wes Johnson?
No, so he's with Maneri at South Carolina now.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. My bad. So he reunited with Coach Maneri, but he was there for a year. I just remember we used to joke that these days he would need an NIL with Rockstar because he was on those energy drinks nonstop.
Oh yeah. Him and Godwin would leave after a series. They'd have their cooler waiting under the bus full of, I think it was Rockstars and Monsters or whatever it was they drank. Yeah, they were on go all the time.
Hopefully their hearts age well and their blood pressure is moving forward. And turns that stuff, man, that'll pump you up.
Yeah.
But in Terry Rooney's case, I remember a lot in those first games, like sometimes he wouldn't be in the dugout because he was on the road recruiting a Matt Clark or somebody like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, those guys were relentless. And again, I think you've kind of seen over the course of their careers how that's paid off for them. I think Rooney left and went to Central Florida from there, and he's been at Houston, Purdue. He's kind of been a few different places. And Godwin, obviously, has been at East Carolina. To me, he's the best, let's call it mid-major, because they're a high-end mid-major coach in college baseball. I think that's his alma mater. I assume he's waiting to take him to Omaha, and I don't know if he stays there for his whole career, but to me, he's the best coach not at a Power 4 in the country.
Yeah, second time I'm going to reference Southern Miss already, but Southern Miss is kind of that same thing, right? They've hosted regionals. They're hosting one.
Sure.
LSU went there a couple years ago and got beat, or 3 seasons. It was Jay Johnson's first year on the job. They went there and got beat by Southern Miss twice. But so the first year in 2007 with Maneri, and I've joked with you in the past, you guys went 29, 26, and 1. And he said after fall ball he thought he was going like 15 and 40 with what he inherited.
Sure.
But in 08, midway through the year, you've got like a 5-9-1 record in SEC play. I think you're 23 and 16 overall. And then you win a midweek game at Tulane, and this team goes through the heart of the SEC schedule, through the SEC tournament, through the regionals, and wins 23 games in a row. Yeah,
it was pretty impressive. I mean, I remember it now, so some of the leaders on the team at this time, I think, if I recall right, Hollander, Jared Bradford, was there, and they actually had a talk with Coach Maneri, just, I guess expressing our concerns of kind of some of the things that were going on. And Maneri had a team meeting, came in and apologized. Everyone took ownership for it, and then we rattled off 23 from there. So it was, I think the guys got behind him. It was a big turning moment for us, that he owned what, we thought to be an issue. And from there, we took off with it, and it was, it was magical from that point.
Jared Bradford is an all-time Maneri favorite.
Yeah.
The press conferences, he would, the stuff of legends, this Jared Bradford, he would pitch on Friday, and then he would come in and save on Sunday. That first year when y'all won 29 games, I think he played a role in, I don't know how many of the wins, but it was a lot.
Sure.
But yeah, he kind of, you got like a stick of butter you're trying to spread over the weekend, right? And
sure.
Lewis Coleman then came in and kind of did the same thing a little bit later. He would start and then close.
Yep.
Got the last outs of the national championship.
Yep. It was awesome.
So that, what do you remember? So, when you won 23 in a row, I mean, you were on, I think Coach Maneri said, as good a hitting streak as he's ever seen that year. When you're hitting like that, you had the home run to beat South Carolina, the opening round of the SEC tournament in extra innings. You had the grand slam against Alabama in that same series. Eventually, you had the bases loaded, bases clearing. I guess it went down as a double against Rice in the World Series. Yeah. You said I never showed emotion, but that was one of the few times Javi picked you up.
Yeah.
And
still remember it. Yeah.
So is it a beach ball you're seeing at that point, or how's it going?
Yeah, everything's just going real slow. I mean, that's what I tell guys all the time. I mean, in baseball, when you think too much, that's when things go bad, right? But at this point in time, that's why I told those guys. I said, just put me in there. I mean, it was going, and I tell people all the time. So we were playing. We had the Irvine run there that. Kind of, we won a game, lost a game. We were trying to, beat Irvine to get, to go to Omaha. I think I punched out like 5 times, right? I think it was something crazy the night before, and then we get things going. But yeah, you just slow down, and it doesn't matter. You're just so confident. It does look large and slow, and everything's just kind of like you're in that dream state, and everything's just clicking for you.
Well, you played in the last season of the old Ellick Box, 2008. Mm-hmm. The super regional you referenced, UC Irvine, they beat you pretty handily the first game. That was the controversial trick play. Did they run a trick play, a hidden ball trick or something in that first game? And
was it LeMahieu? I think it was LeMahieu they may have got it second. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, they did. They ran a trick play.
And then in the second game, you're the visitor in that game because they flip it.
Yep.
And I think you're down like 5-2 in the 8th or something.
Yep.
And made this miracle comeback.
Yeah.
Ochenko hit a ball that kind of took a crazy hop and
bounced over the third baseman's head. Yeah, came back, took the lead, and wore him out after that.
That was like the last bit of Ellick Box magic.
Yeah,
you win that game, and then Monday night, you're playing the final game in the history of Ellick Box, and it's 3 straight home runs in the top of the first, right?
Yep, back to back to back. Yeah,
it's who hit the first one?
So I think it was.
Gibby?
Did I hit it was either Gibbs, myself, and Clark. I think it was at the combo. I don't remember how.
LeMahieu was in there. I didn't prep for this, guys, as I should have. But 3 straight home runs in the top of the first. The game started at 6, so I had to do a live shot outside the stadium. I don't know why, but I'm live outside the stadium. No one's watching me, but I just keep hearing this roaring over my shoulder, and it's just like it was over like that.
I think we hit 7 home runs, beat them 21-7 if I remember right. I don't remember the final, but
I think you're exactly right. Yeah.
It was a whooping after that. It was over. They opened the door.
Buzzy Heidel hits the final home run in the old box, and I think catches the ball at first for the final.
Yeah. Put the ball in his back pocket. I don't know if we ever got that one back. He might still have that one hid. I don't know.
It's in the Buzzy Heidel Baseball Museum in Gonzales somewhere.
Yeah, there you go.
Over by East Ascension High School. What was it like to play in the old box?
I loved it. I enjoyed it more than the new box personally. I just felt like they were right on top of you. Now, the amenities of the new box are obviously nicer, but I'm telling you, when we were playing Irvine and I stepped in the box, I had to step out. I couldn't even hear myself think. Right? I couldn't. They were right on top of you. It was a different type of feeling, man. It was like you could feel it all over you. And I think, LSU's always had home field advantage. I think that was another level of home field advantage. The box wins you a few games every year, but that place over there was wild.
Yeah, the noise was concentrated.
Oh, I felt like they were literally sitting in your back pocket. I mean, you couldn't hear anything. You had to literally focus just to have an idea of what was going on.
And for the most part, what you would hear, they would get in the opposing team's head in a clean fashion.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what they sold anyway.
Yeah, sure.
They came up with creative yet wholesome, teasing of the opposing team. There was something about the noise, the heat for some of the teams who weren't used to it, like the UCLAs of the world who came in from the West Coast in the 75 degrees and the cool breeze, and the fans, and just it would just smother so many people.
Yeah, it was different. It was hot. I mean, there was no wind there. Even when you go back to New Box, there's no wind. It's very stagnant on the field, and it does get very hot.
Well, some people who were critics of the old box, they call it the match box because they said it was easy to hit home runs in there. Did you find that was the case?
It definitely seemed to be easier to hit balls out of that than the new box. I don't know if that is just because the wall's a little higher. I don't know how the dimensions line up, but I definitely felt like it flew a little bit better at the old box.
Well, in the 90s when the guys were taking creatine and, were as wide as that door right there, and they hit 188 home runs in a single season, I think somebody put it well. They said even the strikeouts were intimidating because they swung so hard.
Sure.
Woof,
Sure. Yeah.
At every pitch. That was they eventually cut down on that, and then they neutered the game too much, where the ball, no one's hitting home runs at that new park in Omaha. But I think they found a balance.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. I'm still kind of confused because you do the bat testing now, right? So there really is certain numbers when you test these bats before every game that the bats have to be within. So I think they may have messed with the ball a little bit, and to made it fly a little bit more, because there's definitely a difference between collegiate baseballs and professional baseballs. There is no question that even minor league baseballs to professional baseballs, there's a difference. The professional balls they fly further. I think they're harder, quite frankly.
Yeah. Okay, so 2009. So now last year was already the 15-year anniversary of that team. Mm-hmm. And you look at the names on paper from DJ LeMahieu, Anthony Ronaldo, Jarrett Mitchell now working on the SEC network,
sure.
Blake Dean, Micah Gibbs. I see Micah all the time with his kids, and
sure.
they come to the playground in my neighborhood and play. Gibby, Micah Gibbs. He has that dry sense of humor. On down the line, Ryan Schimpf. I mean, he was in the minors for a while, and then had his day in the sun in the major leagues as well. I mean, it takes good players to win. Lewis Coleman. How do you reflect back on that team?
Yeah, when you look at it, I mean, the talent was just astronomical. I mean, Leon Landry, I was thinking about him. I always remember his 2 Sports Center catches out there in center field at the old box, and when you look back at it now, you're like, man, that team was complete. It was a complete team. There wasn't many holes in that lineup, which, that's what it takes to win a national championship. But the depth in which we had, and I think Matty Ott, right? That was the Matty Ice age. You got to have the closer that could have the magic there. So the team was special. And again, you got to have things that go the right way too. Got to have a little luck, and the team was very cohesive.
Yeah. We were talking about it too, and I'm not trying to criticize the guy, but we're looking at every year when you talk about LSU baseball, it seems like you got your 1 and 2 starter, and the third starter is always a quirky thing. And I looked up Austin Ross. His record was 6-8, and his ERA was 5.13, if I'm not mistaken. So that just goes to show you it's hard to get 3 aces on a college baseball team. Obviously, it worked out for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, again, to be totally complete and have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday guy, plus midweek guys, plus bullpen relievers, it's tough. Guys get shuffled around over the course of the year, and you got to stay healthy. People always leave that off the table. Like a lot of things got to go right to win it all, and staying healthy is one of them too. And
Austin had a great career, and I'm just sitting here telling old stories. I'm not a has-been. I was a never was, Blake. So, you know what? And here's another thing. This is going to show you I'm not as big a nerd as people think. Who'd you play in the Super Regional? I was trying to think of it. I went totally blank on the 09. Who was the team that you played in the Super Regional?
So Irvine was 08, 09.
Yeah. So you can't even remember. You were out there.
Yeah, I don't remember now. Who was it? I don't know.
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Totally blank on that. Maybe Darren's looking it up back there. He's Googling it right now. That goes to show you that's just an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean,
the team you beat to go to Omaha.
Yeah, 09 was just butt whooping, so I don't remember much. 08 was special. 09 was just we dominated.
Yeah. UC Irvine, there was so much drama in that.
Yeah.
Rice.
Okay, that's what. Okay.
LSU was always running into Rice back in.
Yeah. All right.
That time. And it went down to the final game. You lost the second game of the championship series to Texas. What do you remember celebrating and dogpiling and all that? Did it feel real?
And I tell you what, it's a blur. See, like I said, in 08, I think we were on this magical ride. And I tell people in 09, we knew we were good, right? There was no more guessing. People were out after us. We knew what we had. So there wasn't, a ton of surprises anymore. It was just more business, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, we won it, and it was exciting and all those things, but it was business-oriented. We knew we were there to get a job done, and if we didn't win, it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So, and it's all a blur. You look back at it now, and you're like, man, what even happened? I don't even remember much about it. You got to go watch videos because you're so hyper focused on getting a job done. Sometimes you lose the small details of it.
Well, you play so many games too. It's not like football where I can remember, because I only play 12 regular season games a year. I can recall those somewhat easily. But in baseball, the good thing is if you lose, you're up early the next day. We play again tomorrow for the most part.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Yeah, 24-hour rule. Midnight starts a new day. It's over. Got to go again.
Yeah, which I think has always been kind of an interesting thing Jay's implemented. He's been able to do it successfully, but it's interesting that he says it's a 56-game playoff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Try to make every game feel like it's a playoff game, but we know we're playing tomorrow, Coach. So,
Sure.
I mean, he's been able to be successful with that. And then in 2010, I mean, we've seen this. I mean, how many national championship teams have we covered around here in the last 5 years? Football 19, women's basketball 23, baseball 23, gymnastics 24, track and field I think has won one, and nobody repeats. So just simply and poignantly, it's hard to win one.
It is. I mean, and I think we got kind of screwed that year personally. I think they sent us out. We won the SEC tournament, whatever. Then they sent us to UCLA, to go face Trevor Bauer and Cole and those guys. I'm like, that was tough, And then obviously we lost it out there, but it's so hard. I mean, I think South Carolina did it in back-to-back years in baseball. Outside of that, you don't see it very much because, and especially now with the transfer portal, you could have a totally new team next year.
Yeah.
So it's totally different.
Well, and I remember that regional, and I've told funny stories about that over the years that I get there, I'm trying to beat deadline, get my story back. I get a cab, and they've never heard of Jackie Robinson Stadium. The guy's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. We get there, it's like it's by an overpass. They've got a farmer's market going on. They're like selling fruits and vegetables over the left field wall. And can you imagine that at Alec Box, somebody like taking up space doing that during a regional? And then I get there, and Maneri says, did you find the park okay? I said, yes. I said, besides the $85 cab ride. He said, too bad you spent $85 on the cab ride. You could have bought this park instead.
Yeah.
So it was kind of Parkview Baptist with palm trees. It was not it was not what you expect big time athletics to be.
Yeah, especially in that that city, at that school with the players and the football program they have. Yeah, it was lackluster to say the least going out there.
There were porta potties
Yeah.
by the two dugouts.
Yeah.
There were no bathrooms. Jim Hawthorne and Bill Franquez were sitting at a table like this one outside of the press box. They had no room in the little thing. But I'm not being snotty about. They had the better team. They won.
Yeah, they handled their business. Yeah.
I think you hit your last home run You hit a home run on Sunday, right? The elimination game?
I think I may have hit one there. I try to forget those games. That is my career. So you kind of blank those ones away.
Blank it out. How do you reflect on Maneri's time and just Maneri as a coach? And I've said it a million times. Was probably the best coach I've ever covered in terms of dealing with the media. Always friendly, always return a call, but apologize for missing your call. Any charity event I asked him to do, if he didn't do it, he had a good reason why. And look, in 2009, real quick, I remember I asked him early in the year to come and throw out I would never do this today because it was so nervy of me to ask it younger, but I asked him to come to Karen Crow, Louisiana for the Red Rock and Blue softball tournament to throw out the first pitch. And I kind of forgot about it. They win the national championship. They celebrate on Wednesday, and then the thing is on Saturday. And I'm like, well, he's forgotten about that. He calls me on Thursday, Jacques, what time do you need me to be there at this place and whatever? I'm like, Coach, I didn't think you were going to come do this. He gets a speeding ticket going to Karen Crow. I said, it must be some angry Raging Cajun fan that pulled you over something to give you a speeding ticket. But, he drove all the way over there and back. That's probably 3 hours of driving before it's all said and done. So just the person he was, and the coach he is. What was it like?
Yeah, he was pretty special. The thing I remember about him the most was just how detailed he was. Even when I started getting into coaching at UNO, just the amount of detail that you wouldn't typically think about. Like, for example, he told me one day, he goes, hey, when you have a recruit come down on the field, to come see the stadium, make sure the lines are painted, the bases are in. You don't want any of the field machines out there. You don't want the drag. These are all things he's running through in his mind, when you kind of look at things and how he did stuff. And he's been in coaching his whole life. His dad was a high-end college coach at Miami-Dade for years. So I think he did a really good job being personal. And again, like everyone else, you're never going to make everyone happy. I'm sure you could find a few players that played for us that don't like him, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. But he did a great job of managing people and his staffs and always putting us in good positions.
Well, I think that's any great coach. I mean, that's what Kim Mulkey's been dealing with forever, right? I mean, even if there's 75, 80% of them that are great, sometimes the media goes and finds the 20% or 15, and let's get them to talk and try to smear this person. I mean, that's big-time college athletics. That's the real world. You either cut it here or you don't, You keep your job or you get fired.
Sure.
So,
yeah, everyone's got a lifespan, everyone. And if you survive it and to retire on your own, then you've really done something.
Sean McMullen one time played, I don't know how long it's been, maybe 10 years ago. He was at Delgado, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah, good player. He told me about Maneri. He goes, that's a little man, but that little man will break you. Meaning that y'all get a guy in the media, he's one way, but out here, he's pretty tough.
Yeah, he was tough. I mean, he had a standard. He held his standard, and God knows, Ochenko, I've seen, you can tell stories for days about what went on behind closed doors. But again, I think at the end of the day, you respect him for it. And when you win, it fixes a lot of stuff. So it makes it all easier.
I heard a story, I think Buzzy told me, Ochenko pimped a home run one time or something. And Maneri's like, oh, you pimped that home run. Well, why didn't you pimp it when you struck out with the bases loaded the other day or whatever,
Yeah.
And then it was like Matt Clark had 28 home runs, but only 3 with runners on base. Like he was the king of solo home run. I mean, even when you're doing great, there's something to push a button on to try to get you better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He was good about that. He kind of knew how to push the buttons the right way, when to get onto you. Again, I've heard stories about Bertman and his ability to motivate and pick the right times, and I think that's what all good coaches do. They got to find a time to put it to you and then to pick you up.
Well, I think that's something that's lost too. They see Bertman now as Grandpa Bertman, like the guy you get together with on Sunday, and he's a sweet man, and there was a lot of guys that got chewed up and spit out over there because that's the way it is. Yeah. This is LSU baseball.
Absolutely, I'm sure Nick Saban has done plenty of chewing in his time, right? But even like watching him now, you see him doing all the broadcasting and stuff. You see a different side of him, right? He smiles, he laughs, he makes jokes. You didn't see that when he was.
You're talking about Saban,
yeah, Saban, yeah, it's a little bit different.
That commercial with him as the landowner or whatever for that property is one of the best ones. Check-in's at 3:00. It's 2:55. I know. No fun. No baths over 10 minutes. It's just in a spa. Whatever that commercial. Great stuff. I just wish Maneri would have won in 17. They made it to the finals, lost to Florida, had some bad luck. It'd been nice to have one more title.
Yeah, I'm sure he wished he had it too. You put your life into something, man. He's been here, I don't know how many years he was at LSU complete. Was it 13,
15?
15 years. That's a long time.
And COVID wiped out one of them pretty much for the most part. But
and I'm surprised he's back doing it again, right? He's back in the thick of it again. So, you can't get away from something you love.
What was your reaction to that? I've heard different things. I've heard some people say they weren't surprised at all. Some people are like, why is he doing this? What was your reaction?
Well, I think, personally, I think he wished to continue coaching. I know his neck and health and, just those type things. His dad was passed away during those times. And I think he just needed to get away, right? I think there was a lot of things that had built up. And I think once he went and had his surgery and kind of got away from it and was tired of playing golf, I think he realized that he had a few more years left in the tank. I think he wanted to go back out there and, make another run at it and put a stamp on, a bow on the present. I think so.
Well, at the end of his time at LSU, he lost weight. He was really looking kind of rough, and he had the neck thing, like you said. He was having trouble sleeping, and then he looked a lot healthier after that, kind of put some weight back on, and, was looking healthy and vibrant. And look, I think he's 67 now. I mean, that's different than being, I'm not trying to make ourselves feel better for getting older, like, 45, 50 is the new 30 or 40, but people are aging differently. You look at Archie Bunker. You remember that show? Archie Bunker? Like, he looked like he was 70 and he was like 45 doing the show. It's an old show. But anyway, the first year did not go well, but he's in this new era, and so I guess it's a matter of, is the coach going to be back to the Benjamins again, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's so much different than when he was at LSU with this NIL and the portal and stuff. I mean, again, it's hard to hold these kids to a standard because they're loyal to no one.
Well, and then at your time, the pressure's on you to prove I belong here, not put pressure on the coach that you deserve me,
sure,
type thing. I mean,
yeah.
You come to LSU, it's like, you want to play out here in front of 12,000 people, you got to earn it, right? Sure. And so now that's kind of, I don't know if it's flipped a little bit, because if they don't perform, they're going to be out going somewhere else. But
sure.
Some people like you, they thrive on the pressure. Others have, I can't handle this.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It is certainly a fine line now between playing, and even when they play, it's like I was telling our coaches, like, man, I'd like to get a lot of 280 hitters to where they're good but not too good, and and you got a bunch of 280s that way they can't leave, and so it's tough. The superstars are gone. They're gone. So it's an interesting dynamic nowadays.
What do you make of this current LSU team as the NCAA tournament's about to get underway?
Well, I mean, I just looking at it, obviously they've done a pretty good job. I know I watched some of the SEC tournament, and I saw people complaining that they got shut out. Anytime they don't hit, it's the world's coming to an end, right? It's the sun's not coming up tomorrow, and I think Jay has done a really exceptional job. He's super detailed. I think he's very thorough with everything he does. Their starting arms are pretty special. I think they got some good starting arms. As far as the hitting, what do they call the first baseman? Bear?
Jared Jones, Bear.
Yeah, Bear. I mean, the guy's got stupid power, right? And so I think it was a good move putting Milam over there at short. I think he filled in, and Braswell's still playing. And so I think they got some good pieces. I think it's a lineup that a pitching staff that can go pretty far in it, especially with the regional, the way they have it set up.
Yeah. Maneri won the SEC tournament 6 times, so it's always interesting, the bridge between the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. Is this going to carry over in terms of, I think they didn't score the last 15 innings they played there offensively. I think they only had 2 hits in the last 15 innings, so that's the question. Does it carry over, or is the fact, hey, you're playing SEC competition, now you got at least 2 teams that appear to be over their skis coming to this regional, and a Dallas Baptist team that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jay does such a good job of taking yesterday and erasing it and preparing them for the moment in front of them. I think they'll be fine. I mean, it's postseason baseball in the box, for God's sakes. They're going to go in there and do what they need to do, and I'm sure there's a high likelihood we'll see him back in Omaha.
How much have you interacted with him? You competed against him, right? I mean, you took teams to the box and played against Jay Johnson, right?
Yeah. So we had him down in the lakefront once, and then we've gone up there a couple times. I have some interaction with him. He actually, I've stopped in and just visited with him a time or two, just looking at the stadium and going and seeing some new things. And now that they've won it, heck, all the old stuff's basically been wiped out. You got new wallpaper in there, so it's a different look. Now we're gone in there, but he, like I said, super. I mean, he's different, man. He's very, he's personable, but he is cut and dry to his profession and what he does. That's what he lives and breathes.
Was he pretty knowledgeable of you and who you are and what you did?
Yeah, I think he's very familiar with those guys. And I've seen it. He's been on Matuk's, stuff before. So I think he's very familiar with, the guys of the past. I think he's made himself very thorough with what he does and who he is. So I don't think you slip too much by him in any of those capacities. He's pretty up to speed on everything.
Yeah. He claims he sleeps 6.5 hours a night. I'm not sure about that. I think he's pretty...
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably disagree with that too.
What about this time of year now? Because if you're LSU, you've played. I think you played 55 regular season games, so you played in the neighborhood of 60 games altogether. But this is the time of year that defines the whole year, right? Sure. Did you go to Omaha or not? And so, how do you approach this? Have fun, Blake, but realize there's a lot of pressure on you too.
Yeah, well, see, I think LSU, I tell people, I think it's different than anywhere else because that coming in from day one. So it's basically like a dress rehearsal for 56 games of where you're going. And if you fall short, then it don't matter what you did no matter how good your record is, you're judged on these next couple weeks. And it's a terrible outlook, but that's the standard in which it was built here. And that's the standard in which they all know they got to live up to it. So they're prepared. They've been prepared. They deal with the media and everything else. Now it's just getting it done. Yeah, they just don't talk about SEC regular season titles at LSU, do they? Yeah, that's just a notch on the belt. That goes on the side of the ring, not on top of it.
I love it. And then this time of year, too, is there a guy, or can you remember like somebody during the regular season who didn't really, I mean, did a decent job, but then becomes a hero in the postseason? Those are the kind of stories too that can.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at it. There's always that guy. I remember, Mitchell obviously was Jared Mitchell was a great player, but my God, what he did in Omaha, I think he was the MVP of the College World Series. I mean, the guy couldn't get out. So in order to get to that level, somebody will have to step up. Somebody will have to execute on the mound, or be that guy that goes out there and hits a few home runs and drives them to big runs.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else I should have chatted with you today about, or anything else you want to share?
Nah, you're pretty thorough. You're thorough. I appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah. UNO, we were joking. We were like, well, they can't make it to the NCAA tournament the first year Blake steps aside. That wouldn't be right, right?
Well, dude, I was pulling for him. I watched more baseball sitting on the couch than I did coaching. So it was good.
So, yeah, I was joking. There's something about Tulane and UNO, right? I know neither won their conference tournaments, but UNO, they struggled during the regular season, and then they got hot in the conference tournament. I think Tulane the previous 2 years had won their conference tournament to get into the NCAA, right? So
yeah, they were in the finals this year. I think East Carolina ended up having an average year, but then ended up winning it.
So kids at home, you can just sleepwalk through your whole semester and then just come through on those final exams, and you're good to go. Probably not. So, Blake, thanks for coming down, man.
Yep, absolutely.
Great seeing you. The great Blake Dean here on Jock Talk. We'll see you later. Have yourself a great day.